Hi, St. Paul's Durango. Pastor Billy Brath here, Vice President, LCEF Ministry Solutions. I want to talk to you a bit about some of the paperwork in front of you and the voters meeting that you have. First, I want to make sure you know what LCEF is. If you don't already, Lutheran Church Extension Fund is an organization of our denomination. We're, in essence, a resource sharing department of our denomination. So in part, we're a lending organization. We take investments from Lutherans around our church body, and those investments get loaned to other churches and then, of course, paid back to those original investors. I'm on the other side of LCEF, and we're the ones who help congregations like you all go through long-term planning, capital development, and then ministry expansion campaigns, which is the topic of conversation today. So I've been with you for a few years. Of course, most of you in this meeting probably know that, and we'll look forward to continuing with you all as we step into the ministry expansion campaign. Most important to our work at LCEF is we're charged by the denomination to help congregations move forward according to God's will. So over the last few years, the work we've been doing in the ministry clarity process, if any of you recall the title of what we were doing, was really finding out, okay, Jesus, what did you give us? And what are you asking us to do with it? Part of that is, Jesus, you've given us word and sacrament, and how are we living that out in our daily lives? How are we living that out together as a congregation? And then how are we using our property in order to engage our community? So that conversation's been happening for years. There may have been a little delay for a few reasons, but now as that plan has come together along with the actual property development plans, it's time to lay it out to you all and for us to really mull about. Are we going to commit to this next chapter of St. Paul's ministries? Are we going to commit to this future that God's laid out before us in ministry together, and then the supporting things that need to happen to make that ministry future come to fruition, like some property changes and us devoting ourselves to the future ministry expansion? So all of that will happen during the capital campaign, or ministry expansion campaign as we call it, but you'll note that terminology that we use very intentionally. In front of you is you have this document here. This is the proposal from my side that just lays out what a ministry expansion campaign looks like and a bit of why we do it. So I'm not going to read this whole document to you. This is not story time with Pastor Ben. He's better at that than me. Instead, I just want to point out a few important things about the campaign. Most important, you'll just see on this page here, is that our campaign, while there will be conversations about the financial implications of the project, most important is the ministry future. What is the ministries that God's calling us into, and how can we expand and realize those ministry opportunities? Certainly, Pastor Ben's been leading you over the last 10 years and will continue to, but a lot of this is you all saying to one another, brothers and sisters, are we going to step into this future that God's prepared for us? That's in part that box there, and we need to hear from each other. There's a few other things to know that the document lays out. This process, while will be a campaign where we lay out the details of the project and talk about them for a couple months this fall, it's really a 3-year project of us continuing to give, to step into ministries, and then, of course, enjoying the changes to campus that need to happen. Really briefly, you also received this. Now, the campaign materials, when we do launch it this fall, which I hope we get to do, we'll lay out all the details affiliated with ministry, facilities, and the financial plan to make all of this happen. But we wanted to give you kind of a snapshot of what those larger plans are. So don't become, too questioning these items. The campaign will lay out the details themselves. But we want you to understand that behind all of these physical changes are the most important thing. And that is that ministry needs to, because Jesus said so, ministry gets to expand in this place. We get to welcome and engage new people, even as you're doing now. So as you've noticed, just over the last couple of years, coming out of COVID, a lot of new ministry opportunities have already started on this campus. And so with some modest changes to our property, including some of the capital changes that are needed for safety and for better access in the sanctuary, along with those are some really important ministry area changes where we can open up our facilities and use it for even more opportunity. Stuff we don't even realize yet. Opportunities that God's preparing in the background that we'll get to step into once these changes happen. So as you talk with your leadership and hopefully vote to move into this ministry expansion campaign, I do want you to focus in this meeting on the most important thing. Are you as a congregation prepared to have this conversation this fall with one another? To say, Jesus, we see the plans that you've laid before us, and we are going to commit to step into this ministry future. That's what a ministry expansion campaign does. So today's vote is really to allow you all to move into this ministry expansion campaign so you can have this conversation. I'm here in the background supporting you all, and you'll see me through the campaign process over the next few months, and then hopefully for years to come as the ministries expand. So blessings, and back to you, Pastor Ben.